Hey everybody. So every year, well, almost every year in the playoffs, there is a player who the postseason is his coming out party. He's somebody who either, really breaks out in the playoffs and brings his game to a whole nother level, or he's somebody that maybe fans from outside that particular team don't really know about that well, and maybe they've heard the name, but they don't see this player on a regular basis. But then you put him on the stage in the playoffs where the whole hockey world is watching, everyone is paying attention to every game, and you give him this platform all of a sudden, and he just breaks out and becomes a superstar. And we 100% have one of those this year, and he's a defenseman for the Carolina Hurricanes, and I am talking about Jaccob Slavin. Jaccob Slavin is having a phenomenal postseason for Carolina. Absolutely magnificent so far in the playoffs. Through 10 games played for the Hurricanes, he doesn't have a goal, but he has 12 assists in his +8, and he has the fourth highest minutes per game played in the entire playoffs, and he plays the third most minutes per night of players remaining in the playoffs. The only players who play more than Jaccob Slavin are Brent Burns for the San Jose Sharks and Seth Jones for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Those are the only guys left in the playoffs who play more minutes per night than Jaccob Slavin. Slavin is playing almost 27 minutes a night for Carolina. This guy eats minutes. And he's just been absolutely spectacular. He's got 12 points in 10 games. He's +8. I've seen him make multiple goal-saving defensive plays in his own end. He's got great stick position, and I have just been thoroughly impressed with what I've seen from Jaccob Slavin in these playoffs. And I really think that this is his breaking out. This is his coming out party. Carolina has a very, very good young defense core, but none of those guys were really stars. No one outside of Carolina, people knew that they were good, but I don't think we knew how good. And we don't know how good they could potentially become. Many of them are still very young. But we're starting to see now that Jaccob Slavin could be certainly a top 10 defenseman in the NHL. He could potentially grow into a top 5 defenseman in the NHL. He's only 25 years old. He's still got room to grow, and he is already playing at this elite level. He had a very good season during the regular season for the Hurricanes, but his game has just exploded in the playoffs. He is their best player. He is their best defenseman. And I know Justin Falk is probably the bigger name, but Jaccob Slavin has been Carolina's best defenseman in these playoffs. And there's a reason he plays almost half the game, because he's been their best defenseman. And he just continues to impress. And I can tell you right now, the Carolina Hurricanes would not be in the second round without Jaccob Slavin. And the Carolina Hurricanes would not be one win away from going to the Eastern Conference Final without Jaccob Slavin. He has been incredible for this team. And really, when you look at it, their defense core as a whole is just absolutely beautiful to look at. Their top 5 defensemen are all 27 years old or younger. And most of them are on team-friendly contracts as well. Slavin is a guy, if Jaccob Slavin were to hit the open market, let's say next summer, he's a guy who would probably fetch around $7.5 million per season, if not more, depending on how he played the season before. Jaccob Slavin just signed a 7-year contract with Carolina at $5.3 million per year. He is an absolute steal at that price. And he's not the only one. Justin Falk is making under $5 million per year. Calvin DeHaan, $4.5 million per year. Brett Pesce, just over $4 million per year. Dougie Hamilton, under $6 million per year. All of these guys are on team-friendly contracts for Carolina. They Hamilton's 25, Slavin is 25, Falk is 27, Pesce is 24, and Calvin DeHaan is 27. All of these guys are still either in their prime or haven't entered their prime yet. And they're all, well, Hamilton, I guess, probably, I wouldn't say is a team-friendly contract. I'd say Hamilton is probably a pretty fair contract. He's a 3 or 4 defenseman, and he's making a $5.75 million per year. So that's a pretty fair contract for Dougie Hamilton. Slavin, though, at 5.3, that's an absolute steal. He could easily be making $7. Justin Falk at under $5 million per year, that's a steal. Calvin DeHaan at 4.5, that's probably pretty good for Calvin DeHaan. And Brett Pesce, we don't know what Brett Pesce can become because he's only 24 years old. And he is signed long-term at 4.025 per year, just over $4 million per year. Slavin and Pesce are signed through, Pesce signed through 2023, 2024, and Jaccob Slavin is signed beyond that. So they are signed long-term in Carolina at very, very low cap hits. Fantastic moves for the Hurricanes. And to think that back around the trade deadline, there were rumors going around about Carolina trading one or more of these young defensemen. And I did a video, I talked about them at the trade videos on this channel. That Carolina, there were rumors that they were looking to trade one or more of these young defensemen. Dougie Hamilton, 25. Slavin, 25. Falk, 27. DeHaan, 27. Pesce, 24. Why, looking back now, I think at the time Carolina was a borderline playoff team. We were thinking they may not even get into the playoffs at the time. Looking back now, that would have been idiotic for them to trade any of these guys. Now, Slavin was never going to be the guy to go. Slavin is their top defense prospect, or up-and-coming defenseman. I think he's already their best defenseman. So Slavin was never going to be the guy to go. But Falk, Hamilton, and Pesce all got talked about in trade talks. How stupid does that seem now looking back? And they're all signed beyond this year as well. It's not like any of them are pending UFAs and you would want to trade them and get something for them. They're all signed beyond this year. Dougie Hamilton is signed through 2020, 2021. Slavin, again, signed 7-year extension. Falk is signed through next season. DeHaan is signed through 21, 22. Pesce signed long-term. They're all locked up as well. They're all young, they're all locked up on team-friendly contracts, and Carolina would not be in the situation that they are in now without them, especially Jaccob Slavin, who has been their best player. To me, when I watch Jaccob Slavin, and I've watched him a lot in these playoffs, I see potential for him to be one of the best defensemen in the league, because it's not like he's an offensive defenseman who has severe defensive deficiencies, and someone who's gonna, go out and get you a bunch of points, but is gonna struggle in their own end. And it's not like he's a defensive defenseman either, who is gonna be a shutdown defender and stop the other team from scoring, but struggle to produce offensively. Slavin is your perfect two-way defenseman. He can shut down the other team's best player, and then he can come down the other end and rack up points too. 12 points in 10 games in these playoffs for Slavin, all assists. He doesn't even need to score. He's just racking up assists. And he's +8. He's played great defensively. Again, like I said earlier, I have watched him make multiple goal-saving plays in these playoffs with just great stick position and just really smart defensive plays. So Carolina's defense as a whole is in tremendous shape, and Jaccob Slavin, I think, is now the top guy. Justin Falk has been the top guy for a while in Carolina, especially since they haven't been very good in recent years. And Falk finally has some help. With Hamilton, Slavin, DeHaan, and Pesce, Falk finally has some help in that defense, and I think Slavin has surpassed Falk as the best defenseman on that team. And I think it's a great move for Carolina to have him locked up like this. And God, he's only 25 years old. Think of how good he's going to be when he's 28, 29, 30, when he really comes into his prime and has years of experience under his belt, as well as the immense talent and hockey IQ that he already possesses. If you're looking, down the road to say 2020, 2021, around there, Slavin will be, 27, 28, around that time. I see Norris Trophy potential in the future. I really do. I see Norris Trophy potential in the future. I think he can be that good. And we've seen players really break out in the playoffs, and that is just the jumping off point for them. And I think he can just continue to get better. So I am very, very high on Jaccob Slavin. I think he has been phenomenal in these playoffs, and I think it only goes up from here. Carolina was very, very smart to get him locked in long-term before he had this coming out party. Because if they were trying to sign him to an extension this summer, you're not getting him at $5.3 million per year. No chance. He's asking for 6.5, 7 after his performance in these playoffs. Carolina was very smart to lock him up early, and they're going to reap the rewards of that 100%. And I think he could be one of the best defensemen in the league in the future. He's only 25, and he's really taking his game to a whole new level. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.